Grandpa Humbke. It's nice to see you again. Today, I would like to tell you about my second year at Edinburgh. I stayed with Des and Corrine Brady and their two small children, James and Colleen. Corrine was another excellent cook and known for her baking, so I was set for the year. But at school I had two serious challenges. The first one was when I was assigned a split class of 40 plus grade 7 and 8 students. Although the room was not designed for that many and desks had to be placed next to the sidewalls, I did not mind the number. But I had a serious problem trying to prepare twice the number of lessons and correcting twice the amount of homework. I was so disappointed with my results compared to my first year that by the end of October 1962, I was seriously considering resigning. This was when my first guardian angel appeared in the name of School Superintendent Gordon Hay. He came out and met with me a couple of times and told me I was trying to do too much. He suggested that I couldn't correct all the work and I should instead have students correct one another's quizzes and exercises under my direction and supervision. He helped me organize the classroom so that students were doing more and learning more. My job was to create, monitor, and control a learning environment in which the students were responsible for doing their work and achieving the objectives determined by the Provincial Department of Education. It was a team effort of teacher and students. Things were settling down by mid-November when the second bomb landed. And this one was even more serious. Kathy Brady, my girlfriend, was 17 years old, a student in grade 11, and pregnant. I was responsible and had let everyone down. My employer, the superintendent, the Edinburgh school, parents, my class, Kathy, our parents, and myself. At this time, no one knew of the situation, and I asked the superintendent to come out. I had to talk with him. During the third week of a cold November, he came out twice, and we met each time in the privacy of his car parked in front of the school. Mr. Hayes said it was not a good situation, but it had happened before, and it wasn't the end of the world. He would support me and wanted me to remain teaching, but he respected my right to resign and would keep it private until the end of school the coming Friday. Kathy had no idea what to do, and neither did I, other than the two of us running away. But this was very serious. Friday came, and everyone had left the school, after which I spent an hour packing up and leaving the room and instructions in place for a substitute or new teacher on Monday. Just before I finished, at about 5 p.m., the school phone started ringing. I was not going to answer it, but it kept ringing, and at last I did. It was Eric Brady, Kathy's father, and a man of very few words. All he said was, "Roger, come out to the farm now." I could hardly talk, but I liked Eric, and I thought he liked me. So I decided to face the situation and not just run away. When I got to the farm and entered the house, I found Fred Barber, the school principal, Eric and Clara Brady, all sitting at the kitchen table, looking profoundly serious and somber, as could be expected. At the end of school that day, the superintendent had notified the principal by phone that I had resigned and there would be a new teacher the following Monday. Mr. Barber had immediately drove out to the farm and had been discussing the situation. It was hard for me to believe that, although Clara was terribly upset, they wanted us to get married, and as soon as possible. I happily said I would, but I needed to ask Kathy first. Clara yelled for Kathy to come downstairs, and when she stuck her head around the corner, Clara said, "There, now ask." I hesitated and said that I wanted to ask her in private, to which they agreed, and sent the two of us to the far end of the living room and closed the door. We smiled at each other with great joy, hugged for a minute or two, kissed, and then told them, yes, we both wanted very much to get married. It was quickly arranged that we would do the mandatory blood test the next day in Wetaskiwin, and then could be married 7 days later on December the 1st, 1962. The law at that time required that both of Kathy's parents had to give permission, as she was under 18 years old. Eric was an Irish Orangeman and would not sign if we were to be married in a Roman Catholic church. My mother would not sign if I was married outside of the Roman Catholic Church. But At 19 years, I only need one signature, and my dad signed. This is a photo of Eric giving Kathy away. As you can imagine, that week in November 1962 is still a blur. I was a new, happier, appreciative adult than I had ever been. I was back at school Monday morning, and on the following Saturday, we were married at the Brady farm home by a United Church minister, Dr. Brundage. Kathy's two sisters, Iris and Betty, were bridesmaids, and Gerald Petrick and Gary Greenwald were my best men. Both my parents came, but my grandmother did not. Left to right in this picture are Betty, Iris, Kathy, me, Gerald, and Gary. It was a very small wedding and reception at the farm. But that night, we had a packed wedding dance in the Edberg Hall, with Kathy's and my favorite dance band playing. After, we went for a one-night honeymoon at the Bluebird Motel and a breakfast buffet in Camrose, before returning to our newly rented farmhouse 1/2 mile south of the Brady farm. Kathy and I were so thankful for all the support from our parents, friends, my students, and their parents, the school staff, Edberg community, and all the wedding gifts. If it hadn't been for Gordon Hayes' support, and especially the immediate action taken by my other guardian angel, Fred Barber, on that Friday, November the 23rd, 1962, I hate to think about what could have happened. We both knew of a similar incident where there was serious consequences when the parents of an underage daughter had pressed charges. The lesson I learned was to respect and listen carefully to the advice of my elders. At age 19, I did not know as much as I thought I did. In the next 20 years, my parents would grow smarter in my mind, and I would become humbler. The more I learned, the more I realized that in fact the amount to be learned was growing at a much faster rate. The rest of the school year, I did the very best job I could in appreciation of all the support we had received. We were truly in love and working hard to make sure our baby would have a happy, safe, loving home to come to. On May the 8th, 1963, Kathy went into labor at St. Mary's Hospital in Camrose. At that time, husbands were not allowed in the delivery room, so I was in a waiting room while she was on the 2nd or 3rd floor of the hospital. All I remember is hearing Kathy scream so loud and for so long that I thought for sure something awfully bad had happened. At last they told me that I was the father of a perfectly fine baby girl and that Kathy was doing well. What a feeling of relief came over me. When I first saw our baby, Roxanne, lying on a table, the strangest feeling I ever had came over me. It was partly like having your arm cut off and seeing it still moving while being 10 feet away from you. But mostly, it was the unforgettable, magical, buzzing feeling that your baby was really a part of you, which had somehow managed to separate physically from you. The pride of being a part of creating life is stronger than any other feeling I have ever had, and one would easily give their life to protect it. Having carried the baby for 9 months, I can only surmise that a woman's feeling at that time are even more intense. To me, it is the perfect example of synergy, when 1 and 1 equals more than 2. It can equal 3, 4, 5, or even more. A husband plus a wife can perform a miracle and can actually create a new, independent, separate life. Creation of life is our greatest gift, and I told my daughters it is the greatest, most fantastic feeling they will ever have. Don't miss it. Yes, a few days ago, when I last saw my 31-year-old granddaughter, Alicia Langlois, she looked more relaxed, more soft, more loving, and even angelic. I was not surprised to hear that she was pregnant, and that Brandon and her will be having a baby, a miracle, in June of 2021. I am so happy for them and the joy their baby will bring, especially to them, their parents, and grandparents. Back in 1963, at last, I felt like an adult and accepted the responsibility for providing care, safety, and love for a human creation that I was part of. Our next video continues on January 26, 2021, when I accept the principalship of a 2-room grade 1 to 9 school, and our family of 3 moves 150 kilometers south to Scapa, Alberta. Bye for now, and stay safe.